months ago, and
You are
then
gonna be just fine.
I've been.
Is your mic, is it?
Now I have this. Oh, am I stopping it by
No,
doing
that's
this?
good.
Now there's the green light,
That's
so
perfect.
I thought we were okay.
You are good. You sound great. All right, just say and spell your full name for me.
Okay, that include the first name. You want the whole kit and
Yeah, I mean,
caboodle?
whatever you go. Would you go by Al?
Al, right? Yeah.
A-L, and what's your last name?
Okay, Al Vanucci. Capital A-L, capital V-A-N-N-U-C-C-H-I.
Perfect. All right, I know very little about your case, your background, so I'm going to be kind of learning a lot of this as we go. But what were the circumstances that led up to you meeting an attorney?
On May 29th, 2007, my wife's and mine 19-year-old son was hit by a drunk driver. She ran away, and he was killed. That was May 29th, 2007, the day after Memorial Day of that year. We came to know Neil O'Donnell when ultimately an individual by the name of John Corcoran, who's been a lifelong friend, but who took care of our son before we buried him. And he said at that point we needed to get an attorney because of this scenario. The girl that killed him ran, and there were some other people, Gary Wilch, what was involved with it. And we got to know him through another attorney who was originally called by John Corcoran, again, who was a lifelong friend. And that's how we got to meet Neil. And if I'm not mistaken, it might be 8 years to the day that we're sitting here talking that we had the opportunity to meet him under the most god-awful circumstances that you can imagine. I know I was just sitting here talking and kidding, but you could see my demeanor has changed entirely because my wife's and our other 3 children, our lives will never, ever be the same. And a lot of that has to do that the girl that killed him did a little bit more than 3 years in prison, and she's in the Plymouth area where she ran down my son. And she walks around to this day, and she still sees the sunrise and the sunset, and all my wife and I have is we say good morning, and we could say good night at his grave site. And our other 2 boys and our daughter don't have their brother. He was the first son of my second marriage. I had a son from a first marriage with it who's 38 years old. Eric would have been 28 August 10th of this year. And then we have another daughter who's, boy, this is ironic, today's her 26th birthday. And we have another son who's 21 who's going to be a senior at Temple University. But that's how in the most ungodly fashion we got to know him. And like I think it's 8 years today with it and stuff. And although that scenario changed our life, meeting Attorney O'Donnell and everybody that's come and gone in the 8 years that we're still here and still clients in different capacities, it was a godsend meeting them. I wish it had been under non-horrific conditions, but it was what it was, and we still continue to be friends with them. And I won't say they made the process easier, but they were as comforting as you could imagine, and they made what were days where our hearts were ripped out each and every day. And as to today, as I sit here, that it was a godsend that we got to know them, and we're fortunate enough, both on their side and ours. We to this day not only are clients, but we call each other a friend.
Wow. Describe Neil's personality to me. How do you kind of perceive him as a person?
Ooh, describing his personality, boy. The best thing I can tell you, if we can travel back 8 years roughly to today, the first time we met him, he was with Gary Wilch, who was is still, I believe, and was an investigator from them that time. When we first met him, his personality, out of anything, shined through more than anything else. That, although he was somber because he knew of the scenario, he has a demeanor about him, and I don't know if that blends into the personality or what, but everything he did was heartfelt. it was warm, it was consoling, it was compassionate, it was everything that my wife Anne Marie and myself needed, because it was, we buried our son on June 1st, 2007, so maybe it was 2 weeks plus, but the clock was ticking, and we had to do something. And it was fortunate that this John Corcoran had said something, because we were under the belief that we had to wait until the criminal process ran its course before we were looking at the civil end of it and stuff. But there was no getting rid of our sorrow, but he made us feel as good as we possibly could under the circumstances, and his personality shone through, because when we were done, we were in the car and we were going home, and not talking a whole lot, but had said that we thought, to use a baseball terminology, that we probably hit a home run by getting on board with him. We had seen some advertisements, but we paid no attention to that, because it was never going to be us. It was never going to be the Venucci's that needed that. But his personality, to this day, carries it through, because you saw our interaction when we first sat down. It's always with a friendly smile. I mean, and here he is. He's got his Juris Doctorate, and he stands up to say hello to me and extend his hand. So there's a lot of things I could say, but a lot of his personality, I don't think the true story can be told, because it's in his mannerisms, the way he makes eye contact with it. I wish my wife was here, but she just wasn't comfortable, and she's not the public speaker in the family. I guess that's left up to me. But his personality, in addition to his capabilities as an attorney, shines through, and I think maybe I've encompassed that, and I don't want to get too long-winded with it, but he's a good guy. Maybe that's the best way. I'm a Yankee fan, and they always say that about Joe Torre. He's a good guy, although he's an Irishman, and Joe Torre's an Italian. But Neil, and that's his whole staff. I mean, I know he was front and center, and it's his last name on the firm, but I think he commands allegiance, and I think you can see that permeated through his staff, be it family members or somebody else that works for him.
Wow. You clearly have a great working relationship with Neil. I think people have some anxiety, fear, intimidation about meeting with an attorney, because it's usually never under great circumstances when you need an attorney. I mean, unless it's something simple like a will or buying a house or something. Under your kind of circumstances, or if someone was really hurt in an accident bad, what would you say to them in regards to not being intimidated or having any anxiety or fear about sitting down and talking to Neil?
I think if they gave Neil just 5 minutes of their time, that they would see that there was no need for intimidation, no need for anxiety, that he's going to put them in a comfort zone, maybe like they've never been in their life. And I understand that you are in a difficult position, because you're never coming to, be it a defense attorney or a civil attorney, you're never coming under the best of circumstances. But I think if anybody out there would give him half a chance, and like I said, 5 minutes I think would be the barometer, which was all they would need, because he's going to put them at ease, like if they were going to a birthday party, that he may not attempt to make it jovial, he may not try to minimize the hurt maybe that they're feeling, no different than myself, and I don't want to make this about us or about anybody else, but I think if they gave Neil a chance to sit and to talk to him and to ask maybe one or two questions, that they can convey their misgivings maybe of having to meet an attorney, and I think he would allay their fears 1, 2, 3. I don't think anybody would walk away the first time. I think maybe, if I can go back to what I had said, they would get in their car and they would feel the same way that Al and Anne Marie Venucci felt 8 years ago, that you hit a home run with going with Neil O'Donnell.
I can't even think of anything else we would need. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What were you going to say?
I know that we're kind of wrapping it up now with it, and I hope I answered anything that was there. I spoke from the heart, legitimately. But one of the hardest things about when our case was done was that we weren't going to see him on a regular basis anymore. And that meant so much to Anne-Marie and I, whether it was a phone call, whether it was stuff being sent in the mail. You knew, even though you weren't talking to him, that there was compassion, that there was kindness, and there was concern besides every aspect. And we knew somewhere along the line the case was going to come to an end. And it's been now maybe a little less than 4 years since everything was settled. To this day, we still talk to him regularly. We still email them. And both my wife and I miss seeing them and the staff on a regular basis. I'm sorry for crying.
Oh, God, no, here.
He just made us feel so good.
Thanks for doing it. I know how much that is. Thank you. You're a good man.
See what I mean? He didn't have to come. No. And he helped us when our guts were ripped out. And he does to this day, even if it's just to say hello. In fact, we just got a letter from him on the end of May, on the anniversary date of when our son was killed, that he cut out our in memoriam, and just there was one line, and it meant so much to Anne-Marie and I, that he's just always thinking about us, and this is 8 years down the road. And he's just a good guy. He's just a good guy. And I'm not doing that for the camera. That's heartfelt. I could have went on forever, but I know that's not what you wanted. Even to the point we were at the Pittston Tomato Festival last year. Who came up to us and gave us a hug? Him and the wife. And I've got a mind that's not a sieve. I remember it. But I apologize for the crying, but that's how heartfelt it is. And I wish my wife could have been here, but it's just not the same. By the way, she said to tell you. Well,
Thanks for doing it, Al. I appreciate it.
are you sure? I thought it was going to be longer than that. I just.
Gosh, you said more in 15 minutes than we could have ever even hoped for. You spoke from the heart, and that's...
Al started the legislative drumbeat